What is going on, guys? Dippin Diesel back. We are back working on the 1965. Today we're going to be doing the floorboards. We're going to weld some new floorboards in, and I'm just marking it up with some soapstone to see what I actually need for sheet metal. So what I'm thinking is I'm not going to worry about bending the metal or anything like how it has these. I'm just going to put a straight piece of sheet metal. I'm going to cut this out. I kind of did a rough estimate to try to see what I need. I need about 17.5 inches from the corner here to there, and I need about 13.5 inches. This is just rough estimate from that line to that line right there, and this whole piece will get replaced. I'm not sure what sizes they have at Lowe's. I'm gonna go to Lowe's and see what they have for sheet metal. But cutting this rectangle out should take care of most of the rust holes. I don't see anything up here or right here. It's mainly just right here where water collects in these little valleys. So I think we're good for that. This side, it's kind of bad right here. You can tell that definitely needs to be replaced all the way up to here. I still have to figure something out with this. I may just clean it up, cut a straight line, and then I have some angle iron that I may use with that. I'm not sure. I may get some other sheet metal. Not sure. I'll see what they have at Lowe's. But basically just cut all this out. Cut this right here. And then I'll get some really thin sheet metal that I can bend, that I can weld right here, and then hit it over with the hammer and fill that in and make it hopefully look good. I'm not a professional. Definitely have never done floorboards before, so this is gonna be my first time. And honestly, it's going to be a little bit harder than if it was just the floorboard that needed to be replaced and this didn't have to. So I'm gonna have to figure something out with this. And yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. So then for this passenger side, it's a little bit bigger of an area that I have to cut out. There is a crack right here. What I'm gonna do to fill this in, I'm going to grind all this off, make sure there's no rust. Then I'm gonna get my jack and a 2x4 and press it up, because this is really sunken down. It's kind of hard to see, it's a little bit dark, but it's really sunken down. So I'm gonna go ahead and get 2x4, a jack, push this up from the bottom, weld that crack in, and hopefully somehow weld it into here so it keeps it up. And then I didn't draw a square, but basically it's gonna be the same thing as the other side. There's a hole right there. So basically it's gonna look something like this. And then along the back side, gonna need 20 inches long way, or 20.5 inches long way, and 13 inches across. And that's gonna replace all this right here. I don't really have to do, actually I do, because it's rusted right here. I'm gonna have to figure something out with that, bending the sheet metal. I'm probably gonna get some thin sheet metal to go right here. And then this doesn't really have to be replaced. There's a little bit of holes right here. Like I said, thin sheet metal will take care of that. Bend it with a hammer after it gets welded. That's gonna be a little bit hard to do. And yeah, so there's holes all the way up here, right here. Really, I mean, I could just patch these holes with pieces of sheet metal instead of replacing this whole thing. But this definitely has to be replaced. I can always just cut out this right here, that squared down, but then it's gonna look weird that this doesn't have any indents and then this part does. So I was just gonna replace the whole thing. Got that old intake manifold. Oh my God. So it's definitely gonna be a challenge, and hopefully I can not mess this thing up, because floorboards are important so you don't fall through and get run over by the truck. So I'm gonna go ahead and write these measurements down on my phone, and then we're gonna go head off to Lowe's, possibly Harbor Freight, because I may need some new wire. And all the other wire that I buy, I may buy it at Lowe's, I'm not sure, but I like the Harbor Freight wire better than like Hobart. Hobart wire kind of sucks, at least for my welder, my flux core welder. But yeah, I need some wire. I need some steel, and I think that's it. So let's go ahead, hop in the truck, and head over to Lowe's. last night. I forgot to record at Lowe's. I literally recorded me walking in, and then I got caught up in trying to find the right kind of steel I needed. And as soon as I was already out of the store, I kind of forgot about it. I'll show you guys here in a minute. I need to pull this truck around and put it over there so we can start welding. So unfortunately, I was gonna get 18 gauge sheet metal. They didn't have any, so I had to go with 16 gauge. It's probably not preferred to go with 16 gauge because I think it's a little bit thicker than the floorboard itself. So I may burn through the floorboard more than I burn through the sheet metal. The next gauge was 22 gauge, and that just felt way too flimsy to use as a floorboard. They didn't have the right sizes that I needed for the floorboard, so we're gonna have to make it work with a 12 by 18. I would have went with a 12 by 24, but they didn't have that. This one is 17 by 13 and a half, so we can make that one work. And then this side, I think, is like 20 something by 13. So we're gonna have to figure something out there. 1/8 of an inch by 2 inch by 3 foot. I'll try to use that for the side. And then I got a 22 gauge 8 by 24 that we'll use for the piece that curves over. And hopefully everything will turn out good. So this is my first time. This is the biggest project that I've done with this truck so far. And it's also the most challenging for myself since I've never done it before. So it's gonna be a big old project. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and hopefully this thing turns out not too bad. And hopefully I don't mess it up too bad that I'm gonna have holes in my floor. So stay tuned. Let's get to cutting, grinding, and welding. We have a lot of work to do. As you can see, I took the gas tank out so I don't blow myself up while I'm welding. I took the seat out, took the bracket for the seat out. So we're just left with the floorboard. And as you can see right here, it's definitely pretty bad. I have a pry bar right here with the jack pushing it up because it is sagging a little bit. I just have a lot of work to do, man. It's gonna take me at least probably 5 hours to get this done. Like, I'm no expert whatsoever when it comes to replacing floorboards. This is my very first time, and it's definitely gonna be a challenge. Right off the bat, I know I bought the wrong kind of metal for this. I thought it was thicker just because of the way that you're looking at it right here, but it's thick because the part like this that bends over onto the floorboard is bent over completely. You can see that it's bent over. What I'm thinking right now is there's an angle iron that runs along right here. I have some angle iron from these grain sides. So I was messing around the other day, welding stuff up. So I have some angle iron on these grain sides that I can use and weld to up underneath. I can weld to the back side of this part for this to sit on so it doesn't sag. You can see how it's sagging right now, and it doesn't really give it any structural support, just sagging like that. So I'm thinking if I weld that angle iron on the inside right here and set this sheet metal on top of it, it will give it more structural support as opposed to not having it there. So yeah, that's what we're looking at beforehand. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to this. Hopefully I don't mess it up too bad. If I do, then I'm gonna need some help from someone. But I'm sure I can do it by myself, and I think it'll turn out decent. I know it won't turn out the best, but yeah, I gotta learn somehow. I gotta learn how to do this somehow, because if I'm gonna keep doing old trucks, I'm gonna have to replace the floorboards. I'm kind of mad that this one's the one that I'm gonna have to practice on, because it's not that bad. and I'm looking to sell this one, so if I mess up on it, it's gonna look really bad. But I'm gonna do my best. But yeah, let's go ahead, set up a time lapse, and hopefully you guys enjoy. All right guys, we got the first floorboard out on the driver's side. Nice big old square, or more of a rectangle, but yeah. What we're gonna try to do is put the metal that we're gonna replace it with up from the bottom, and then mark on the top where we need to cut the metal, and then we're gonna cut on the outside of that line, and hopefully it's a perfect fit. And if not, then we'll just keep cutting and trimming until it's a perfect fit, and then we'll go ahead and tack it up and go from there. All right, I stopped for a little bit to enjoy an adult beverage, and this is what I have so far. I'm almost done with the driver's side. I have a little bit more that I have to do, but it's about probably 85% done, and that's what it's looking like so far. Have to fill this gap in right here with some steel or something, and then the welds aren't the best because just the sheet metal for the floorboards is already thin as it is. I'm using thicker steel, so I'm burning through it just a little bit, but it's turning out decent. I still have to weld this part right here, just fill in a bunch of holes that were created from the bad welds. I put a piece of metal right here and I bent it around the corner. I gotta smooth that out right there. Finish welding it in right there, and then put another piece down to here. Sorry, I had that bad a camera angle, but basically finish this out and then put another piece right there and then patch that right there. And then we'll be able to spray some rust preventative on it, and then primer it, and then spray it down with some paint. And say it's holding pretty good. This was actually a little bit easier than I expected it was going to be. The only hard parts really are, you know, getting the right angles and metal cut for this, and obviously welding to thinner steel than what this is. If they had 18 gauge, I would have went with 18 gauge. If they had either 16 gauge or 22 gauge, and this is the 22 gauge, so you can see it's really flimsy. So no, I didn't want to go with something flimsy, and this 16 gauge is really thick. Wherever that other piece went, that's over there. It's really rigid, so that's what I went with. I have to figure out what I'm going to do right here. I think I'm going to cut a piece of that 22 gauge out, weld it right here, and then just bend it over and then weld it. I think that's basically the only thing I'm going to be able to do with that. As you can see, look, it's just burning right through it. But for the most part, it's going pretty good. And I'm almost done with the driver's side, and then we'll be able to work on the passenger side. Passenger side is going to be a little bit more difficult because the patch was bigger than this side, and then the store only had 12 by 18 pieces, so I needed 20.5 by 13. So we have a 12 by 18 piece. As you can see, it's not going to fit completely. So, you know, we're going to have to figure something out and just work with it. And, you know, we'll get it done eventually. If I have to go get some more steel, I'll go get some more steel. But, you know, the patch will look good once it's primered and painted. And, no, it's definitely strong. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, get back to this, and then primer it, paint it, and then work on the passenger side. All right, guys, here is the final product for the driver's side. I got it all primered and painted. I think it looks decent for this being my first time. You know, it's definitely not the best, but I filled in a lot of the rust holes that were right here. Filled in somewhat right here. Didn't really care too much about that. It's nice and strong, man. That is definitely not going anywhere. I went ahead and put a strip of metal along here and welded it to the top, so it kind of makes it a little bit seamless for the curve. And yeah, so there's that side. Caleb's over there. What are you doing?
Throwing dimes.
Throwing dimes, dude?
Throwing dimes.
Your name Dime Daddy?
Dime Daddy. They call me Dime Daddy.
So, you guys know we had...
Don't worry about that, Dime.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that, Dime.
You guys know that we had to decide where we're going to put this steel because it wasn't big enough to fill the whole thing. I went ahead and put it right here. There's a little bit of rust right there, which is going to make it a little bit difficult to weld to because it's going to be really thin. But I think where we put it is a good spot because it takes out most of the rust. You can see on the back, that's where all the holes were that the Pour 15 dripped through, and it wasn't even connected on this side to the truck, so that was all rusted through. So I think where we put this steel, it's definitely a good spot. I definitely wanted to get it all up right here, so it took away these indents. Without having bigger steel, this is the best we're gonna get. So we're gonna go ahead and weld this up. It's getting dark soon, and it's only 5 o'clock, so it kind of sucks, but I'll bring a lot out here and we'll knock this thing out, and we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, well, I'll be the first one to admit these do not look the best. I am an amateur welder, never really had any schooling for welding. I've just been teaching myself with this flux core welder. I know it's not the best thing to learn on, but it's what I got. And I think it does actually look a lot better than, you know, an average Joe that just has a welder just for whatever things, and if he needs something welded up, he'll put a little bird shit weld on there, and that's that. So I think this is actually a lot better than what some other guys could do, but it's definitely not the best what like professionals do. Obviously, I'm nowhere near professional. But I'll tell you what, you guys go and try to weld thin rusted sheet metal to 16 gauge sheet metal and tell me how it goes, because it's not it's not easy. Welding thick metal is a lot easier. Welding thin metal, you gotta have a light hand and try not to burn through it. So this is what I got. There is the passenger side. That side was a little bit difficult just because just where I cut was a lot more rusted, so it took a lot more to, you know, try to get to it. Obviously it's not the best, like I said. The driver's side, you guys saw that. I'm trying not to step on it because the paint is still wet. But yeah, there it is, the new floorboards. They're nice and strong. I can go ahead and stomp on these and they will not break. I think they turned out fairly decent. This side came out a lot better than the other side, like I said. But I left holes right here so water can drain, because water does still leak in here, and it's gonna hopefully drain out the hole right here and the hole on the other side until I get that fixed. Not sure where it's leaking from because I'm not out here when it's raining. So we'll have to figure that out, but I did leave that open just so water can drain out there. Should I have filled it in? Probably, but for the most part, you know, this thing is solid, and I think this side turned out really good. This side turned out all right, like I said. This side, I didn't do as much to this side as I did that side. That side I actually fixed this right here. I was just done with doing this that I didn't fix that. I should have fixed that, but as long as the floorboard is solid, which before it was hanging down and it wasn't solid, this is solid now, and I think that's all that matters, really. It's not a classic truck, so it's not really too big of a deal. This truck isn't worth that much. It's just going to be used as a work truck, so I don't see anyone going to be complaining that all these floors look bad. Hey, they work, they're strong, and it's going to get the job done. So thank you guys for watching. This truck is still for sale. I'm just doing little projects on this while it's parked at the road. I'll have it parked at the road, bring it here, do a little project, and then put it back at the road, and then just keep doing stuff until it sells. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for another video if this thing doesn't sell. Some guy said that he wanted to come back today and talk about it. He came yesterday. As I was doing the floors, you know, the floors were cut out, and he comes over and he's like, what the hell? But I was like, I'm just replacing the floorboards. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I think next video we're gonna try to bend that bumper back, and then probably try to take off the saddle tank and clean that up, get it repainted, and yeah, so stay tuned. See you guys later. Peace.